Now, whichever way you decide to take classes, whether it's online, in a school, group classes, there are pluses and minuses, pros and cons. So let's go out there and we'll discuss a little, well, some of the challenges that we've been finding. You know, after the success of last week, we've kind of reached a point, and we actually discussed this in our lesson yesterday, where it doesn't seem to make much sense to learn much more new stuff this week. We've covered a lot of ground, and I think I've done a good job of actually taking the time to review and memorize things, commit stuff to memory. And but now that we've only got a couple of days left of the program, the opportunity cost of learning more and more new stuff starts to grow, because I think what's really valuable for me now is actually taking the opportunity that I've got to be in Thailand and to speak and to practice the stuff that I've already learned. Like, that's extremely valuable now, and that's disappearing, because as soon as I get on the plane and go back to London, I don't have that anymore. So we've decided now that we are kind of we're in practice mode now, in revision mode. So what that's meant is that my teacher has had to kind of really adapt based on the feedback she's getting from me. Yesterday I went into class and I was really tired, I couldn't focus, and I think she could probably tell that. And so we've started doing some very cool things to practice, which are, again, like one of the benefits of taking these face-to-face lessons. So this morning, for about 45 minutes, she brought in a different teacher, and I'd never met the teacher before, so we sat down and we had a conversation mostly between the two of us, but also my main teacher would kind of feed in things and help out from time to time. And so I had the opportunity to sit down and practice with a new teacher for an extended period, which was great. What we did after that was then we actually, in the second half of the lesson, in the second hour, we got up and we actually went for a walk around the area. So we went to a shopping mall. She had a couple of tasks to do, and she got me to do them for her. Like, you know, we'd rehearse what I would say in Thai, and I'd go into the shop and I'd do that. I had to deliver a package to a doctor. Really interesting. And but we just changed the dynamic. So rather than being sat face to face with paper, we got up and we walked around, and you know, movement and exercise brings a different dimension to what you're doing, because you know, we were speaking and walking around. We left all the notebooks and the notes and the things at home, and we were just talking, and it was like you were using the language in as genuine and as authentic I'm forgetting my English now, as authentic a way as possible. And that was really, really great, and it's the kind of thing that you can really only do in a face-to-face lesson. And most language schools don't have the time or the resources to actually do that either, you know, to bring in another teacher who happens to be free for 45 minutes. So it's really a luxury, very much. When you are studying this intensively face-to-face, you need to adapt, you need to be flexible, both the student and the teacher, and that's the way that you really make the most of it. Because I am starting to feel drained now after like almost 2 weeks of these 2-hour lessons. It's been great, but really have to keep thinking about how to maneuver and correct course.
3 p.m. Another traffic jam, just as always. So I just finished my speaking session with my Thai teacher, and I thought maybe it would be useful to tell a little bit more about what I exactly do during those hours. In the beginning, I've tried 4 Thai teachers, and I found someone that I really like, and you know, that's fun to talk to. But then even after 4 or 5 classes, you didn't really know where to talk about anymore. So therefore, what I always do is I go to the internet, and then if you just go to Google and you Google for 1,000 questions, you find actually lists with questions that you can ask to strangers in order to get to know each other better. So that always gives me new suggestions for questions that I can ask my teacher, or that my teacher can ask me. And I think that's a way to keep the conversations interesting, and also to discuss new topics and learn new vocabulary, of course.
ไปคนเดียวค่ะ
ไปคนเดียวคุณปกติคนเดียวไปร้าน was it ห้องอาหารไหม no
โรงหนัง
โรงหนังไหม
ค่ะปกติฉันไปโรงหนังคนเดียวชอบดูหนังคนเดียวค่ะที่อัมสเตอร์ดัมเหมือนกัน
I also find grammar drills a very useful thing to do during my speaking sessions. So I'm always looking for teachers that actually use these grammar drills, but not every teacher knows what it is or knows about it. So then I always try to teach my teacher how to teach me, to teach my teacher how to use those grammar drills basically. So what that is let's say you're learning how to say in Bangkok it's hotter than in Hong Kong. I don't know if that's true today, but so then first the teacher would tell me how to say that in Thai, and then she would say, okay, do you understand? So how would you say my car is bigger than yours, or this building is bigger than that building, for example? So that you can, this way you get to practice the same structure over and over again, and that's called drills. And yeah, I find that a very useful way to learn new grammar. So you might have seen that during the classes I always use spreadsheets, and in which I write down new vocabulary. What I always do in the beginning of each lesson is that I try to make sentences with the new vocabulary. I find it a good way to activate the words that I've seen before and on the mean, and at the same time I can also, well, practice to make full sentences and have the teacher there to help me with the intonation and the pronunciation. Well, those were a few tips, or well, at least a few things that I find very useful. You can try them out yourself as well. So getting ready for another day in Bangkok here.